Hi guys, it's George again, and today I want to talk about specifically House District 18 and the voter base that's here in 18. If you look at the demographics of the active voters in 18, our unaffiliated are our number one largest group, followed by the Democrats and then the Republicans. And I think that is because House 18 is a generally independent kind of House district. And what I think we're seeing in the representation for House 18 is opposite of that. The Democrats right now are the state party. They are essentially the party in charge. No, I don't say essentially. I shouldn't say essentially. I should say they are the party in charge of everything that goes on in this state right now. Whether it's our legislators shutting down during the most dramatic and impactful crisis we've ever seen in this country and leaving the governor unchecked in his power, or whether it's passing laws that group us into these make-pretend groups and then play us off of each other. It's all these things that put the government first, the control of your life first, and the group first over the independent, the individual, the person that knows best how they want to live their lives, whether it's your sexual orientation, or whether it's your beliefs on marriage, or whether it's your religion, or it's your skin color. The individual is more important than the government. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There are things that the government has to do, and they have to, by necessity, take away some of your freedom to do that. But there has to be a struggle between the individual and the government. And that struggle of the individual has to be represented with a lot of zeal. And it has to be utmost in the thought process of our representation in our government, because they are an individual and they're fighting against a machine, a government, a big group of people. And so in House 18, I think that comes out, it bears out in the registered voters. We're slowly moving to unaffiliated, which necessarily makes you an individual. And I think that harms us a little bit. Because when you move towards the individual, but don't vote in a way that allows the individual to be thought of first, you give up your rights to this group. And like I said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There are some things that the government can only do. But we got to think long and hard before we give up an individual right to the government before we do that. And so I'm asking the unaffiliated voters in House 18 to give me a thought come November and think about voting for me. Because my belief is the individual has to be the first thought before any law is written. I don't care what that law is. The individual has to be the first person that's thought of. Because anytime we give up an individual right to the government, we're never going to get that right back for the individual. And right now, because of the way we're set up with Democrats in charge of both houses and the executive, we're in trouble. And I think that unaffiliated in 18 recognize that. And my promise to you is that my ideals will always focus on the individual first before we allow a group to take over. No matter what that individual is. Skin color, sexual orientation, lifestyle, whatever that is, has to come to the individual, has to be thought of as an individual first. Because that's the only entity on this earth that has a right, is the individual. Groups don't have rights. If you give rights to groups, then no one in that group will own that right, except for the average in that group. And no one is average. And I think it shows up in the Democrat Party with well-intentioned, and in some cases, well-intentioned bills but consider the group first before they consider the individual. And if you're an independent, if you're truly an independent person or an unaffiliated person, You have to realize that you're looking for the individual to be thought of. Now, I don't mean to say that the government shouldn't have some kind of safety net that can help us out. I think that there should be some help, some kind of safety net for extraordinary circumstances and for a short duration in time and in a limited scope. Our government should have the ability to help us out. Because otherwise, what's the purpose of the government, right? Whether that's defense or whether that's a stimulus check that will help us get through an unprecedented time in our lives in the last century. Sure, in limited scope and limited duration, that's okay. But what our government can't do is stop fighting for the individual. Like what's going on right now. Our House of Representatives and State Senate shut down during the most critical time in our lifetimes. They are shut down and have left the executive, Governor Polis, unchecked in his power. That can't happen. That can't happen. And I know as an unaffiliated voter in 18, you cherish the individual. And whether we can do anything about it, we cannot allow the government to go unchecked with its authority, because its authority is pretty scary when it's left unchecked. And I want to be the guy that checks that puts the individual first, that looks at a law and says, does this take away an individual's rights? And if it does take away that individual's rights, is there a compelling need to give that to the government? An overwhelmingly compelling need to give that to the government. And I don't think the Democrats don't look at it like that. They look, is there a compelling need to give the power of the group to an individual? And fundamentally, that's what we're talking about. That's the fundamental difference right now. And I'm on the side of the individual. And so I hope that gives you enough confidence in me that come November, you'll consider me for your vote. And I hope that if you like my point of view on this, that you'll pass this video around to your other independent-minded people and give me an opportunity to represent you in November. Thanks. I hope you watched to the end of this video. If you didn't, I can't help you, but if you did, please pass this video on. I'm doing Zoom meetings every Wednesday. If you want to come in and give me your point of view in House 18, please do that. If you know people that have a different idea or a different thought pattern, please ask them to come to my meetings. I would love to hear from them because I would love to be able to represent them. Other than that, thanks for your time, and vote George Rapko for House District 18 in November. Thanks. Bye. Paid for by the committee to elect George Rapko to Colorado House District 18.